The dark web ain't just some corner of the internet. It's a place where the rules don't apply, where people wear masks even in silence. You don't go there unless you've already lost something, your mind, your morals, or maybe just your way. It's all shadows and whispers, strange marketplaces, and doors you wish you never opened. Down there, it's not about what you're looking for, it's about what finds you. In this video, I'm narrating 13 real stories gathered from various sources, each one claimed to be true by the people who lived through them. Now I'm using a different voice for this one, so let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.
Three years ago, my sister, Lila, vanished. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of unremarkable evening where you're supposed to be safe at home, maybe scrolling through your phone or watching TV. She was 19, vibrant, with a laugh that could light up a room and a habit of leaving her sketchbooks scattered across the house. She'd been staying with me in my cramped apartment in Portland while she figured out her next steps after high school. That night, she said she was going to meet a friend for coffee. She hugged me, her lavender-scented shampoo lingering in the air, and promised to be back by 10. She never came home. The police were useless. They took her description: 5 feet 4 inches, curly auburn hair, green eyes, a small scar on her left cheek from a childhood bike accident, and filed a report. They asked about her mental state, her friends, her habits. I told them everything: how she'd been obsessed with niche online forums, how she'd spend hours on her laptop, diving into subcultures I barely understood. They nodded, scribbled notes, and said they'd look into it. Days turned into weeks, then months. Flyers with her face faded on telephone poles. Her sketchbooks sat untouched on my coffee table, a cruel reminder of her absence. I couldn't bring myself to move them. I became a ghost in my own life, scouring the internet for any trace of her. I joined every missing persons group on Facebook, pored over Reddit threads, and even hired a private investigator who turned up nothing but a $3,000 bill. The worst part was the not knowing. Was she alive? Hurt? Had she run away? The questions gnawed at me, keeping me awake until the sky turned gray. Then 3 years later, I found her. Or rather, I found something that led me to her. It was on a forum called Doll Market. I stumbled across Doll Market by accident. I'd been chasing leads on the dark web, a place I'd learned to navigate out of desperation. I wasn't a tech genius, just a sister with too much time and a VPN. I'd heard whispers about Doll Market in a Discord server for true crime enthusiasts, a shady corner of the internet where people bought and sold hyper-realistic dolls. Not kids' toys, but lifelike mannequins, some costing thousands of dollars. The kind collectors fawned over, or worse, the kind certain creeps used for things I didn't want to think about. The forum was hidden behind a paywall and a fake login page that looked like a dead end unless you knew the right keywords. I got in using a burner email and a cryptocurrency payment I barely understood how to make. The forum was a nightmare. Threads were filled with photos of dolls posed in eerie, human-like ways, sitting at dinner tables, lounging on couches, even dressed in wedding gowns. Users had names like Puppet Master and Skin Crafter, and spoke in a creepy mix of reverence and obsession. They traded tips on sculpting silicone skin, wiring articulated joints, and sourcing authentic human hair. I felt sick scrolling through it, but I couldn't stop. Something about the place felt wrong, like I'd stepped into a room where the air was too thick to breathe. Then I saw the post. It was in a subforum labeled Custom Orders. The user, collector_x, had uploaded a photo of a doll they were selling. The description read, "One-of-a-kind piece, 5 feet 4 inches, auburn curls, green glass eyes, custom scarred detail on left cheek. Fully posable. Accepting offers above $10,000. Serious inquiries only." My heart stopped. The doll in the photo was Lila. Not a doll. Lila. Her face, her hair, the scar I'd seen every day of her life. The photo showed her, lying on a velvet-lined table, dressed in a white silk gown, her eyes glassy but unmistakably hers. The details were too precise to be a coincidence. I zoomed in, my hands shaking. The texture of her skin, the freckles on her nose, the way her lips curved, it was her. I vomited into the trash can next to my desk. I didn't sleep that night. I created an account on Doll Market and messaged collector_x, trying to sound like one of them. "Interested in your custom piece? Can you share more details about its creation? My skin crawled as I typed, but I had to know. They responded within hours. Took months to perfect. Hair sourced from a private donor. Eyes handcrafted. Scar was a special request. Meet in person to discuss? They suggested a location, a warehouse in an industrial part of Seattle, 2 hours from me. I agreed, my stomach churning. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Not the police, not our parents, not even the PI. I knew they'd stop me, and I couldn't risk losing this lead. I packed a knife, a can of pepper spray, and my phone, fully charged with a tracking app running in the background. The drive to Seattle was a blur, rain pounding my windshield, my pulse hammering in my ears. The warehouse was a hulking, rusted building surrounded by chain-link fencing. It smelled of oil and decay. I parked a block away and walked, my sneakers squelching in the mud. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with the scent of chemicals. Dim fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting long shadows. Collector_X was waiting, a wiry man in his 40s, pale, with greasy hair and eyes that darted like a cornered animal. He called himself James, but I didn't believe it. He led me to a back room, where the doll, Lila, lay on a steel table under a tarp. I fought the urge to scream when I saw her up close. Her skin was cold, waxy, but the resemblance was uncanny. Every detail, down to the tiny mole on her collarbone, was perfect. James talked like he was selling a car, rattling off specs about silicone blends and internal framing. I nodded, pretending to care, while my mind raced. I asked about the hair, the scar, fishing for anything that might confirm what I already knew. He was cagey, saying only that the materials were sourced ethically. Then he slipped up. He mentioned a donor who'd been with them for a while before the piece was completed. My blood ran cold. I asked to see the workshop, claiming I wanted to understand the process before buying. He hesitated but agreed, leading me deeper into the warehouse. The workshop was a house of horrors. Steel tables lined the walls, covered with tools, molds, and half-finished dolls. Jars of what looked like hair and teeth sat on shelves. A faint, sickly sweet smell hung in the air, like rotting fruit mixed with formaldehyde. In the corner, I saw a locked door with a small barred window. My heart pounded as I edged closer, pretending to admire a workbench. Through the window, I saw her, Lila. Not a doll, but Lila alive, curled up on a cot in a filthy room. Her hair was matted, her face gaunt, but it was her. She looked up, and our eyes met. She mouthed my name. I don't remember what I said to James. I mumbled something about needing to think over the purchase and bolted for the exit. He shouted after me, but I didn't stop. I ran to my car, sobbing, and called the police, giving them the address and every detail I could remember. They raided the warehouse that night. Lila was there, along with 2 other girls, all held in that locked room. James and 3 others were arrested. The police found evidence, photos, videos, even journals, detailing how they'd kidnapped women, used them as templates for their dolls, and sold the finished products to sick buyers on doll market. Lila had been drugged, starved, and forced to pose for their creations. She was alive, but barely. Lila's home now, but she's not the same. She doesn't talk much, and when she does, it's in whispers. She wakes up screaming most nights, haunted by what they did to her. The trial is ongoing, and every court date feels like reopening a wound. The media calls it the doll market case, splashing her face across headlines. I try to shield her, but the internet is merciless. Doll market is gone, taken down by the feds, but I know there are other forums out there, other monsters hiding behind usernames. I still see that photo of the doll in my nightmares, Lila's face frozen, staring at nothing. I wonder how many other custom pieces are out there, how many families are still searching. I don't sleep much anymore. The sketchbooks are still on my coffee table, but now they're joined by a stack of police reports and a bottle of pills I take to keep the panic at bay. Lila's alive, and that's what matters. But sometimes, when I look at her, I wonder if part of her is still trapped in that warehouse, posed on a table, waiting to be sold. I ain't ever gonna shake what happened in the summer of 2019. I was 26, a broke-ass freelance photographer with a side hustle digging through the dark web for weird shit to sell. Think crypto scams, hacked data, whatever paid. I'd heard rumors about cartel snuff videos fetching big bucks on hidden marketplaces, the kind of stuff Los Zetas and CJNG were infamous for. Figured I could score some exclusive content, maybe leak a few stills to Vice or some edgy zine for clout. My buddy Marco, a sketchy fixer from Juarez who knew his way around Tor, said he could get me a lead. Shoulda known a guy who lived on Red Bull, and paranoia wasn't the best guide. We were in Chihuahua, deep in narco territory, when Marco said he'd found a dark web listing on a site called Sangre Oculta. It was a folder labeled Mexico_2019_execution, supposedly uploaded by a CGNG runner. The description was sick, promised footage of a sequential dismemberment for 5 BTC. Marco had a contact, some hacker in Villa Ahumada, who'd allegedly ripped the folder before it got taken down. Said we could meet him at a stash house, grab the files, and bounce. I was dumb enough to think it'd be a quick in and out, like downloading pirated movies. We drove out to this dusty nowhere, an hour from civilization, the desert glowing red under the sunset. The stash house was a cinderblock dump, no windows, just a metal door hanging off its hinges. The air stank of burnt plastic and something rancid like death. Marco was jittery, chain-smoking, muttering about pinch cartels tracking IP addresses. I had my laptop and a USB drive, ready to copy whatever this hacker had. My Nikon was in my bag, force of habit, thought I might snap some gritty shots for my portfolio. Inside, it was pitch black, the kind of dark that feels alive. My flashlight caught a folding table with a busted PC, cables snaking everywhere, and a single manila folder labeled Mexico_2019_execution in Sharpie. My gut screamed to leave, but I opened it. Inside were printouts, screenshots from the dark web video. The first showed a guy, maybe 30, tied to a chair, face bashed in. The next was worse, his arm hacked off, blood everywhere. Each image was time-stamped, showing his legs, then his other arm, gone one by one. There was a text file too, a log. Subject betrayed El Jeef. Limbs removed to maximize pain. Streamed live, 300 viewers. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just a video, it was a fucking pay-per-view slaughter. Marco was freaking out, saying we had to grab the USB and go. The hacker, some kid named Diego, showed up late, sweating, handing over a drive with the full video. Said he'd torrented it off a hidden server before the cartel scrubbed it. I plugged it into my laptop, and the file was 2 gigs, labeled execution_19. I didn't watch it, couldn't, but the thumbnail was enough, a machete raised over a screaming face. I copied it, my heart hammering, when we heard engines outside. Marco hissed, "They're here." I yanked the USB, stuffed the manila folder in my bag, and we bolted out the back, crouching behind a pile of tires. 2 black SUVs rolled up, spitting out 6 dudes with AR-15s and bandanas. One had a machete, the blade glinting like it was hungry. My blood went cold. Diego whispered they were Zetas, maybe CJNG, hunting for whoever leaked their product. They stormed the house, shouting about El Archivo and El Maldito Hacker. I realized they meant the folder, the USB, the shit I was holding. Then they dragged out a guy, hands zip-tied, blindfold soaked with sweat. He was young, maybe 20, skinny, screaming through a rag in his mouth. They threw him in the dirt, and Machete Guy started pacing, barking orders. Another dude pulled out a phone, live streaming to God knows where. They ripped the gag off, and the kid was sobbing, begging, saying he didn't steal no files, didn't talk to no feds. Machete Guy didn't give a shit. He swung, and the kid's scream ripped through the desert. His hand was gone, blood spraying like a busted pipe. Marco grabbed my arm, 'cause I was about to puke or scream myself. Another swing, and the kid's arm was off at the elbow. They were laughing, joking about good content for their subscribers. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The kid's screams turned to gurgles, his body jerking as they took another limb. The phone guy zoomed in, narrating in Spanish like it was a damn vlog. It felt like forever, but it was probably 10 minutes. When they finished, the kid was just a torso, barely alive, and they left him there, piling back into their SUVs. The last thing I heard was one of them saying, "Sube el video rapido." Upload the video fast. We stayed hidden till the dust settled, then crept back to Marco's car. I threw up in the sand, the USB burning a hole in my pocket. We hauled ass to Juarez, not saying a word. Marco dropped me at a shitty motel and told me to wipe my laptop, burn the drive, and get the fuck out of Mexico. Said the cartels had bots crawling the dark web, tracking leaks. If they traced that folder to me, I was done, me, my family, everybody. I didn't sleep. Kept seeing that kid's face, hearing his screams, imagining my IP address lighting up some narcos hit list. At dawn, I caught a bus to El Paso, the USB and folder buried in my bag. Crossing the border, I was sweating bullets, expecting some sicario to shank me at the checkpoint. Back in the States, I smashed the USB with a hammer, burned the folder in a dumpster, and torched my hard drive for good measure. I quit photography, quit the dark web, everything. Moved to Colorado, got a soul-sucking office job, and tried to disappear. But you don't escape that shit. I still have nightmares about that video, about the kid, about the chat logs I glimpsed in the folder, handles like Bloodfiend88, cheering it on. I check my VPN 10 times a day, jump at every notification. I know the dark web's still out there, those videos still circulating, maybe with my name attached to some leaked metadata. I don't talk about it, not to my girlfriend, not to anybody. Marco was right. You don't fuck with the cartels, especially not their digital blood money. I just pray they never find me, 'cause I know what's waiting if they do. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This story's gonna mess with your head. It's the kind of thing that sticks to your bones, makes you question everything you thought you knew about the world. My name's Jake, 32, just a regular IT guy from Ohio, fixing servers and troubleshooting Wi-Fi for a living. I'm no hero, no cop, just a dude who stumbled into something so dark it changed me forever. This is about the night I found a marketplace on the deep wiki trading babies for Bitcoin, and what I saw there still haunts me. It started late last year, around October 2024. I'd been messing around on the dark web out of boredom, mostly poking through forums for hacked game accounts or pirated software. I'm no saint, but I wasn't looking for trouble. I'd learned how to use Tor a while back, mostly to screw around anonymously, check out weird conspiracy threads, that kind of thing. One night, I'm scrolling through a site called the Deep Wiki, kinda like Wikipedia for the dark web, but messier, full of broken links and cryptic posts. It's a maze of categories: drugs, weapons, counterfeit cash, you name it. I'm half drunk on cheap whiskey, clicking through random pages, when I see a link buried in a section labeled exotics. It's just called Cradle Market. No description, just a string of numbers and letters for an address. Something about it felt off, like a punch to the gut, but I clicked anyway. The page loaded slow, pixel by pixel, like the internet didn't want me to see it. When it finally came up, I froze. The site was sleek, professional, not like the janky forums I was used to. Black background, red text, and a grid of thumbnails. At first, I thought it was a sick joke, maybe some messed up art project. But the thumbnails weren't art. They were photos of kids. Babies, some not even a year old, lying on blankets or in cribs. Each had a caption: female, 8 months, healthy, $50,000 BTC. Male, 3 months, no defects, $75,000 BTC. My stomach churned. I clicked one, praying it was fake. A pop-up window showed a video feed, grainy, but clear enough. A baby, maybe 6 months old, was in a metal crib crying. The room was bare, concrete walls, no windows. A gloved hand reached in, adjusted a blanket, then disappeared. The price listed was 2.5 Bitcoin, about $60,000 at the time. I slammed my laptop shut, heart pounding like I'd just run a marathon. I told myself it was a scam, some elaborate hoax to rip off sickos. But I couldn't shake the image of that kid's tiny fists waving, the sound of those cries. I poured another drink, paced my apartment, tried to forget it. But by 2 a.m., I was back at my desk, Tor browser open, diving deeper. I had to know if this was real. The Cradle Market had a forum link, password protected. I spent hours brute forcing my way in, using scripts I'd picked up from shady Reddit threads. When I finally cracked it, the forum was worse than I could have imagined. Threads were organized by product type: newborns, toddlers, even custom orders. Users with names like collector_88 and midnight buyer posted reviews, like they were rating Amazon deliveries. One thread, titled Quality Check, had a video attachment. I hesitated, but I had to see it. The file downloaded, and I hit play. The video was shaky, filmed on a phone. It showed a warehouse, dimly lit, with rows of cribs lined up like cages in a dog pound. The air was thick with the sound of crying, a chorus of tiny voices. A man in a ski mask walked into frame, dragging a woman by her hair. She was screaming, blood streaming from her nose, hands zip-tied behind her back. He threw her against a wall, and she crumpled, sobbing. "This one's non-compliant," he said, voice muffled but cold. He pulled a knife, the blade glinting under the fluorescent light, and slashed her throat in one quick motion. Blood sprayed, pooling on the concrete. She gurgled, twitched, then went still. The camera panned to a crib nearby where a baby wailed. "Product's fine though," the man said, laughing. The video cut out. I threw up in my trash can, shaking so bad I could barely hold the mouse. This wasn't a scam. This was real, too real. I copied the forum's URL, took screenshots, anything I could think of. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to tell someone. I sent an anonymous tip to the FBI's cybercrime unit, attaching everything I'd found. I didn't sleep that night or the next. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that woman's face, the blood, the baby's screams. A week later, I got a response. An agent named Carter emailed me through a secure server, saying they were investigating. He asked if I'd seen anything else, if I could get more. I didn't want to go back, but I felt like I had to. I logged into the Cradle Market again, this time using a VPN layered over Tor, paranoid as hell. The site was still up, but the forum had new posts. One thread caught my eye. Operation Cleanup. It was about a sting gone wrong. Cops had raided a warehouse in Eastern Europe, but the sellers had cleared out, leaving behind damaged goods. A photo showed a ditch filled with tiny bodies, some burned, some not. I gagged, tears streaming down my face. These were kids, not goods. The post bragged about how they'd moved operations to a new server, untouchable. I kept digging, feeding Carter everything I found. The market had layers, public listings, then private auctions for premium clients. I hacked into one auction using a stolen admin key I'd bought off another dark web forum for 0.1 BTC. The private section was a nightmare. Live streams showed kids in cages, some bruised, some barely moving. Bidders typed in Bitcoin amounts, haggling like it was eBay. One stream showed a demonstration. A man in a hood beating a toddler with a belt, the kid's screams echoing through my headphones. The chat exploded with bids, numbers climbing into 6 figures. I recorded it all, sent it to Carter, then smashed my keyboard in a rage. By December, Carter told me they'd traced the market's servers to a data center in Moldova, tied to a cartel known for human trafficking. Operation Nightshade, they called it, was in motion, a joint task force with Europol and Interpol. I wasn't supposed to know details, but Carter let slip they'd arrested 17 people, seized $10 million in Bitcoin, and rescued 43 kids. The news never mentioned Nightshade, just vague reports about dark web busts. I guess they didn't want to panic people. The Cradle Market went offline in January 2025, but I know it's not over. I still check the deep wiki, paranoid it'll pop up again under a new name. I've got nightmares every night, blood cribs those screams. I quit my job, moved to a new city, but I can't outrun it. I keep a burner phone with Carter's number, just in case. Last week, I got a text from an unknown number. You shouldn't have looked. No follow-up, no explanation. I don't know if it's a prank or a threat, but I sleep with a gun under my pillow now. This is my story, as raw and real as it gets. I wish I'd never clicked that link, but I did, and now I'm stuck with the truth. There's a darkness out there, and it's not just code and pixels. It's flesh and blood, and it's still out there waiting. They called it the Hard Candy Club. It wasn't candy. I was 19, fresh out of high school, living in a nowhere town in Ohio, working nights at a gas station. Money was tight, and I was desperate for anything to keep me from moving back in with my drunk dad. That's when I met Caleb. He was a regular, always buying smokes and energy drinks, chatting me up like we were old pals. He had this vibe, too smooth, too interested. Said he ran a private club online, exclusive, invite only. Big money, he said, for people who ain't scared to get their hands dirty. I should have known better, but I was broke and stupid. Caleb gave me a burner phone one night, told me to check out a link he'd text me. Don't show nobody, he said, eyes cold. At home, I clicked it. The site was bare bones, black background, red text, Hard Candy Club. Members only. No login, just a prompt for a code. Caleb texted it to me. I typed it in, and the screen changed. A chatroom loaded, usernames like Sweet Tooth and Lollipop King. No faces, no real names. The messages were cryptic at first, talk of new flavors and fresh batches. Then I saw the files. Videos. Images. My stomach turned. It wasn't candy. It was kids. The kind of shit you hear about on the news, but pray ain't real. The videos were worse than anything I could have imagined. Screams muffled by duct tape, tiny wrists bound with zip ties, blood pooling on concrete floors. One clip showed a girl, couldn't have been older than 10, her face swollen from crying, a man's gloved hand forcing her head down. The camera lingered on her eyes, wide and glassy, like she was already half gone. Another file was just audio, sobbing, then a wet crunch, like bones snapping. I threw up in my sink, hands shaking, but I couldn't stop looking. It was like staring into hell. Caleb called the next day. "You in or out?" he asked, like he was offering me a job at a fucking car wash. I wanted to say no, to smash the phone, but he knew where I lived. He'd mentioned my apartment number, casual, like it slipped out. "You're already in, kid," he said. "No backsies." He told me to meet him at an old warehouse off Route 23. 2 a.m. Bring the phone. Don't talk. The warehouse was a rotting shell, windows boarded, air thick with mold and something sour. Caleb was there with 2 others, big guys, faces hidden under hoods. They didn't talk, just nodded at Caleb. He handed me a ski mask. "Wear it," he said. Inside, the place was lit by a single bulb dangling from a wire. A metal table sat in the center, stained with dark streaks. Tools lined the walls, hammers, pliers, a blowtorch. My knees buckled, but Caleb grabbed my arm. "You're one of us now. Act like it." They brought her in. A girl, maybe 12, blindfolded, hands tied. She was whimpering, barefoot, her toes curling against the cold floor. Caleb leaned in close, his breath hot on my ear. "You film. That's your job tonight." He shoved a camcorder in my hands. I wanted to scream, to run, but the other guys were watching, their eyes dead. One of them, a guy with a scar across his knuckles, pulled out a knife. The blade caught the light, and the girl flinched like she could feel it. It started slow. Scar Knuckles cut her shirt off, slow, deliberate, the fabric tearing loud in the quiet. She begged, voice cracking, but he just laughed. Caleb narrated for the camera, his voice calm, like he was selling a car. "Fresh batch, gentlemen. Prime quality." I held the camcorder, my hands slick with sweat, trying not to focus on her face. Then it got worse. Scar Knuckles grabbed pliers, yanked out one of her fingernails. Her scream ripped through me, high and raw, like an animal caught in a trap. Blood dripped onto the table, bright red under the bulb. I gagged, but Caleb hissed, "Keep it steady." They didn't stop. The other guy, the quiet one, lit the blowtorch. The hiss of it made my skin crawl. He held it close to her arm, not touching, just enough to make her skin bubble and blister. She thrashed, but the ropes held tight, cutting into her wrists. The smell, burnt flesh, sharp and sweet, hit me like a punch. I dry heaved, but Caleb slapped the back of my head. "You puke, you're next." Scar Knuckles laughed again, then used the knife. Not deep cuts, just enough to make her bleed, to make her scream louder. He carved patterns slow, like he was drawing on her skin. Her voice gave out, just hoarse gasps, her body shaking like she was freezing. I don't know how long it went on. Hours, maybe. The camcorder's battery died, and Caleb told me to swap it. My hands were numb, my head buzzing. The girl wasn't moving much anymore, her head lolling to one side, blood and sweat matting her hair. I thought she was dead, but then her chest hitched, a weak breath. Caleb noticed me staring. "Don't get soft," he said. "This is what pays." When they were done, they wrapped her in a tarp like garbage. The quiet guy drove off with her, and I never saw where. Caleb handed me $500 in cash, still warm from his pocket. "Good work," he said, like I'd just mowed his lawn. "Next time, you're on the table." I stumbled home, the money burning a hole in my pocket. I showered for an hour, scrubbing until my skin was raw, but I could still smell the warehouse, still hear her screams. For weeks, I waited for the cops to bust down my door. They never came. Caleb texted every few days, new codes for the site, new videos. I didn't watch them, but I didn't delete the phone either. I was too scared. One night he called. "You're slacking," he said. "We need fresh content." "You're up." I knew what he meant. They wanted me to do more than film. I thought about running, but where? I had no money, no car, no one to trust. I met him at the warehouse again. This time it was a boy younger, maybe 8. His eyes were huge, darting, like he knew what was coming. Caleb handed me the knife. "Your turn," he said. I froze, the blade heavy in my hand. The boy whimpered, and something in me snapped. I couldn't do it. I dropped the knife, bolted for the door. Caleb shouted, but I kept running, through the woods, thorns tearing at my legs. I ditched the phone in a ditch, kept going until my lungs burned. I'm in a different state now, crashing on a friend's couch, looking over my shoulder every day. I don't sleep much. When I do, I see her face, the girl from that night, her eyes begging me to stop it. I didn't. I just held the camera. The money's gone, spent on bus tickets and cheap whiskey, but I can't drink away the guilt. I keep waiting for Caleb to find me, or for those videos to leak, my face in the frame. I don't know if I'll ever be free of it. The Hard Candy Club wasn't just a site. It was a trap, and I walked right in. I was 16 when I saw my own face on a website I didn't even know existed. My school ID photo, the one I hated because my bangs were too short and my smile was all braces, was right there, pixelated but unmistakable. Underneath it, some sicko had typed, fresh. Starting bid, $2,000. My name, my real name, Emily, wasn't there, but they didn't need it. They had my face, my high school, even the stupid pink scrunchie I wore every day. I felt my stomach twist into knots, like I was going to puke right there on my bedroom floor. It started a month earlier, at the tail end of junior year. I was a nobody at Jefferson High, just another kid in Ohio trying to get through algebra and avoid the cafeteria meatloaf. My mom worked double shifts at the hospital, so I was home alone a lot, scrolling X or sneaking cigarettes behind the garage. That's when I met Jake. He slid into my DMs on X, said he saw me at the gas station near school, thought I was cute. He was 19, or so he said, with a crooked smile and a vibe that felt dangerous in a way that made my heart race. He'd send me memes, ask about my day, tell me I was special. I was dumb enough to believe it. Jake wasn't real, not in the way I thought. He was a ghost, a profile built to reel in girls like me. Lonely, bored, desperate for someone to notice them. After a couple weeks of texting, he asked to meet up. Said he'd take me to this party in Columbus, somewhere exclusive. I lied to my mom, told her I was sleeping over at my friend Sarah's, and met him at a Dollar General parking lot. He was driving a beat-up Camry, and when I got in, he handed me a Monster Energy drink and grinned. "You're gonna love this," he said. I didn't notice the other guy in the back seat until it was too late. The party wasn't a party. It was a motel room off I-71, the kind with stained carpets and a flickering neon sign. The guy from the back seat, some dude with a neck tattoo and dead eyes, grabbed my phone before I could blink. Jake's grin was gone. "Don't scream," he said, like he was telling me to pass the salt. They locked me in the bathroom, and I sat on the cold tile, my knees pulled to my chest, listening to them argue about the buyer and the cut. I kept thinking about my mom, how she'd be home in 6 hours, wondering where I was. I didn't cry. I was too scared to cry. They moved me that night, blindfolded, to another motel. This one smelled like bleach and cigarette smoke. They took my ID, my scrunchie, even my sneakers. "Collateral," neck tattoo said. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew it wasn't good. They gave me a burner phone with one contact. Boss. I was supposed to answer it whenever it rang, say whatever they told me to say. If I didn't, they'd hurt me. They didn't need to spell it out. I saw the knife on the dresser. The first call came at 3 a.m. A man's voice, raspy, asking if I was the new girl. I mumbled what they told me. "Yeah, I'm fresh. Ready to party." My voice shook, but he didn't care. He asked for pictures. Jake took them, me in a tank top they gave me, posing on the motel bed like I was some Instagram model. I wanted to die. They sent the photos, and the guy on the phone said he'd bid if they could verify me. That's when they took my school ID, snapped a picture of it, and sent it to him. Proof I was real. Proof I was young. I don't know how long I was in that motel. Days blurred together, marked only by the burner phone ringing and the men who showed up. Some were old, some young, all of them with the same hungry look. I learned to shut off my brain, to float somewhere else while it happened. I thought about my dog, Max, who died when I was 10. I thought about the lake behind my house, the way it sparkled in the summer. Anything to not be there. The website came later. I didn't see it until they showed me, like they were proud of it. Jake held his phone in front of my face, and there I was, listed like a used car on some dark web marketplace. They called it the catalog. Girls like me, some younger, some older, all with photos and descriptions. Fresh meant under 18. New arrival meant you hadn't been used much. My listing had my ID photo, a shot of me in that tank top, and a starting price. They said it was hosted on a site like Alphabi, encrypted, untraceable. Buyers bid with crypto, and the highest bidder got an address and a time. I was lot number 47. I got out because of a mistake. One of the buyers, a nervous guy in a polo shirt, left his wallet on the nightstand. I didn't think, just grabbed it when he went to the bathroom. Inside was a driver's license, a credit card, and $40. I hid the license under the mattress and kept the cash. When Neck Tattoo wasn't looking, I slipped the license into his jacket pocket. I don't know why, it was stupid, reckless, but I wanted someone to get caught. I wanted them to hurt. 2 days later, the cops raided the motel. I don't know if it was the license or something else, but I heard the sirens, the shouting, the door splintering. I was in the bathroom, curled up in the tub, when a woman in a vest marked FBI found me. She wrapped a blanket around me, said, "You're safe now." I didn't believe her. I still don't, not really. They took me to a hospital, then a shelter. My mom cried when she saw me, held me so tight I couldn't breathe. The FBI asked questions I didn't want to answer. They said the site was shut down, the men arrested, but I know better. Those sites never really die. They just move, change names, pop up somewhere else. Jake's still out there, or someone like him, fishing for another girl who's dumb enough to trust a stranger's DMs. I'm 18 now, living with my mom in a new town. I don't go to school anymore. Too many eyes, too many whispers. I work at a diner, pouring coffee for truckers and trying to forget. But I can't. Every time I see a pink scrunchie or hear a phone ring, I'm back in that motel, back on that website, my face next to a $sign. I check X sometimes late at night, searching for my old listing, for proof it was real. I never find it, but I know it's out there somewhere, waiting for the next girl. They showed me his face. It was framed in red tape, pixelated just enough to blur the edges of his jaw, but not enough to hide the terror in his eyes. The screenshot was grainy, pulled from some dark web forum I had no business being on. The kind of place where IP addresses are cloaked, and the only currency is crypto or blood. I wasn't supposed to see it. Hell, I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near this. But I was broke, desperate, and stupid enough to think I could dip my toes into the black market organ trade without getting sucked under. It started 6 months ago, in a shitty apartment in Cleveland, where the heat barely worked, and the roaches were bolder than me. I was scrolling X, half drunk on cheap whiskey, when I saw a post, some anonymous handle dropping cryptic hints about quick cash for parts. Not car parts. Not electronics. Parts. The kind you don't grow back. I laughed it off at first, but the rent was due, and my job at the warehouse had dried up. So I clicked the link. Big mistake. The link took me to a Tor browser site, one of those .onion addresses that look like a string of gibberish. The page was bare, black background, white text, no fancy graphics. Just a form, age, blood type, medical history, and a field for what you're willing to sell. I filled it out, figuring it was a scam. 28, O negative, no major illnesses, and I checked the box for kidney. 1 kidney. That's what I told myself. People live with 1 kidney, right? The payout was listed as $10,000, no questions asked. I hit submit and forgot about it. 2 days later, I got an email. No sender name, just a string of numbers and letters. It told me to meet at a diner off I-90 at 2 a.m. Bring ID, no phone. I should have deleted it. Should have burned my laptop and moved to Canada. But I was drowning in debt, and $10,000 was a lifeline. So I went. The diner was a dive, the kind of place where the coffee tastes like motor oil and the waitresses don't make eye contact. A guy was waiting in a booth at the back, bald, mid-40s, wearing a cheap suit that didn't fit right. He didn't introduce himself, just slid a burner phone across the table and told me to wait for instructions. I asked about the money. He smirked, said, "You'll get paid when we get what we need." That's when I noticed his hands, scarred, like he'd been in too many fights or handled too many knives. The instructions came a week later. A text with an address in an industrial park on the edge of town. I showed up at midnight, like they said. The place was a warehouse, rusted and abandoned, the kind of spot where you'd expect to find a body, not a business deal. Inside, it was worse. The air smelled like bleach and something metallic, like old blood. There were 3 guys, 2 in surgical masks, 1 holding a gun. They didn't talk much, just pointed to a metal table in the corner. I saw the tools, scalpels, forceps, a bone saw. My stomach churned, but I told myself it was just a kidney. Quick surgery, quick cash. They strapped me down. No anesthesia, just a rag soaked in something that burned my throat when I breathed it. The guy with the scalpel leaned over me, his eyes cold, like he was gutting a fish. "Don't move," he said. I felt the blade slice into my side, sharp and hot, and I screamed into the rag. Blood ran down my hip, pooling on the table. I blacked out before they finished. When I woke up, I was in the back seat of a van, bandaged and bleeding through the gauze. They dumped me in an alley behind a gas station, tossed a wad of cash, $5,000, not $10,000, and told me to keep my mouth shut. I could barely walk, but I made it home. The pain was unreal, like someone was twisting a knife in my gut every time I moved. I didn't go to a hospital. Couldn't risk the questions. I just prayed I'd live. A month later, I was still healing, still broke, when I got another email. This one wasn't an offer, it was a threat. They had my name, my address, my mom's address. They said I owed them. Said the kidney wasn't viable, whatever the hell that meant. They wanted more. Not money, parts. I ignored it, changed my email, ditched the burner. But then the packages started showing up. The first one was a USB drive left in my mailbox. I plugged it in stupidly and found a single video file. It was him, the guy whose face I can't unsee. He was strapped to a table, same as me but worse. His chest was carved open, ribs spread like wings. The camera lingered on his heart, still beating, while a gloved hand reached in and cut it out. The sound was the worst part, his screams muffled by a gag and the wet, tearing noise of flesh. The video ended with text. Next time it's you. I threw up, then smashed the drive. But more came. Photos printed on cheap paper showing bodies, some alive, some not, dissected like science projects. One had a note. We know where you are. I stopped sleeping. Every noise outside my apartment was them coming to collect. I went back to the dark web, desperate to figure out who they were. That's when I found the forum. It was a marketplace, but not for drugs or guns, for organs. Kidneys, livers, hearts, even eyes. Listings with prices, blood types, and donor profiles. That's where I saw him, the guy from the video. His face was in a listing titled Fresh Harvest. The red tape framed his photo, marking him as sold. The post said he'd been a voluntary donor who backed out. So they took everything. I dug deeper, found threads about harvesting crews, operating out of cities like mine. They targeted people like me, poor, desperate, invisible. They didn't just take what you offered, they took what they wanted. Some donors survived, like me. Most didn't. The forums were full of buyers, rich bastards from all over, paying 6 figures for a new liver or a heart that wouldn't reject. The sellers bragged about their product, posting photos of organs packed in ice, ready for transport. I tried to disappear. Moved to a new apartment, stopped using the internet, paid cash for everything. But they found me. Last week, I came home to find my door ajar. Inside, on my kitchen table, was a cooler. I didn't want to open it, but I did. Inside was a kidney, pale and bloody, wrapped in plastic. A note was taped to it. You owe us one more. I'm writing this because I don't know what else to do. I can't go to the cops, they'll never believe me, and these people have eyes everywhere. I can't run, they'll find me. I keep seeing his face, framed in red tape, and I know mine's next. If you're reading this, don't be stupid like me. Don't think you can play their game and walk away. They don't just want your organs. They want your soul. The screen flickered, a grainy haze of green and black, like the feed was fighting to stay alive. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, slick with sweat, as I adjusted the VPN again. Tor was a labyrinth, but I'd been here before, too many times, chasing whispers of the worst shit humanity could churn out. The dark web wasn't just a place, it was a fucking disease, and I was infected. The link came from a burner email, no signature, just a string of numbers and a .onion address. I'd been poking around black market forums for weeks, sniffing out rumors of live-streamed events. The kind of shit that makes your stomach lurch, abductions, torture, worse. They called them red rooms, but that was just a catchy name for the real deal. Cages, chains, and people who'd never see daylight again. I wasn't a cop, wasn't a hero. Just a dumbass with a death wish and a laptop. The feed loaded. A concrete room, walls stained with something dark, maybe blood, maybe worse. A single bulb swung overhead, casting shadows that danced like demons. In the center, a cage, rusted, barely big enough for a dog. Inside, a woman, curled into herself, naked except for the dirt and bruises. Her hair was matted, streaked with red. She wasn't moving much, just trembling, like a cornered animal. The chat window next to the feed was already alive, usernames like Bloodfiend69 and NoMercyX tossing out bids and demands. 50 grand for a finger. 100 for an eye. I wanted to puke, but my eyes wouldn't leave the screen. She said she was locked in a cage. The text overlay read, flashing red. You decide what happens next. My heart slammed against my ribs. This wasn't a recording. This was live, happening right now, somewhere in the world. Maybe a basement in Ohio, maybe a warehouse in Nevada. The dark web made distance meaningless. I scrolled the chat, while rising. Break her leg, someone typed. Burn her, another. The bids climbed, crypto wallets lighting up with transactions. I'd seen gore before, cartel vids, ISIS beheadings, but this was different. This was a fucking auction, and the product was her suffering. I clicked the profile of the stream's host, Cage Master. No info, just a tagline. No limits. No refunds. The kind of asshole who'd sell his own kids for a hit. The woman stirred, lifting her head. Her eyes were hollow, but they locked onto the camera, like she knew we were watching. Please, she whispered, voice cracking. I just want to go home. The chat exploded with laughter, emojis of knives and flames. I gripped the edge of my desk, knuckles white. I'd never felt so fucking powerless. Then the feed glitched, static tearing through the image. When it cleared, a man stepped into frame. Black balaclava, gloves, a butcher's apron splattered with red. He carried a tray of tools, pliers, a blowtorch, a fucking hacksaw. The chat went feral, bids hitting 6 figures. The woman screamed, a sound that ripped through my headphones and straight into my spine. No, please, I'll do anything, she sobbed, clawing at the cage bars. Cage Master set the tray down, slow, deliberate. He picked up the pliers, turning them over in his hands like a chef admiring a knife. You heard her, he said, voice muffled but calm, like he was reading a grocery list. She's ready to play. Highest bid gets first cut. The chat was a blur now, numbers climbing so fast I couldn't track them. I wanted to shut it down, to smash my laptop, but I couldn't move. It was like the screen had claws, holding me there. The woman's screams turned to whimpers as Cage Master unlocked the cage. She tried to crawl back, but there was nowhere to go. He grabbed her ankle, yanking her out like a rag doll. Her head hit the concrete, and blood pooled under her. The chat cheered. I felt my dinner coming up, but I swallowed it down. I had to see this. Had to know how far it went. He pinned her down, one knee on her chest. The pliers hovered over her hand. This little piggy, he said, and the chat lost its mind. A bid hit, $200,000. He clamped the pliers on her pinky, twisting slow. Her scream was inhuman, a sound that didn't belong in this world. The bone snapped and blood sprayed, hitting his mask. He held up the severed finger like a trophy, and the chat erupted in fire emojis. I was shaking now, tears burning my eyes. I wanted to believe this was fake, some sick performance, but the blood was too real, the pain too raw. I'd seen enough death to know the difference. This was happening, and I was part of it, just by watching. The feed cut to static again, longer this time. When it came back, the woman was barely conscious, her hand a mangled mess. Cage Master was wiping his tools, humming some fucked up tune. The chat was already demanding more, teeth, eyes worse. I couldn't take it. I slammed my laptop shut, heart pounding so hard I thought it had burst. But I couldn't stay away. An hour later, I was back, the .onion address burned into my brain. The feed was still live, but the cage was empty. The concrete was slick with blood, and the tools were gone. The chat was quieter now, just a few stragglers arguing over who won the grand prize. I didn't want to know what that meant. I dug through the forums after, chasing any scrap of info. Some said the streams came from abandoned prisons, others from shipping containers in the desert. No one knew for sure. The dark web was a black hole. Things went in, but nothing came out. I found a thread claiming the woman was a runaway, snatched off a rural highway. Another said she was sold by her own family. I didn't know what to believe, but the truth didn't matter. She was gone. I haven't slept right since. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face, those hollow eyes begging for a mercy that never came. I deleted Tor, burned my hard drive, but it's still there, carved into my skull. I keep thinking about the others, the ones still out there, locked in cages, waiting for the next bid. And I wonder if I'm any better than the bastards in that chat, because I watched. I didn't stop it. The dark web doesn't just show you monsters. It makes you one. I ain't proud of what I did, but I'm gonna tell it straight. My name's Jake, 28, just another burnout IT guy from Ohio with too much time and not enough sense. I'd always been curious about the dark web, those hidden corners of the internet where the real sickos hang out. You hear whispers about it, drugs, guns, worse. I wasn't looking to buy nothing, just wanted to see how deep the rabbit hole went. That curiosity cost me more than I can ever pay back. It started with Tor, the browser you need to slink into those shadows. I downloaded it on a whim, set up a VPN, and started poking around. At first, it was just weird marketplaces, knockoff Rolexes, bags of weed, some sketchy porn. But the deeper I went, the uglier it got. I found forums where people bragged about stealing identities, others selling hacked bank accounts. Then one night, I stumbled into a place I shouldn't have. The forum was called The Exchange. No fancy graphics, just plain text and a login screen that demanded a Bitcoin payment to join. I'd messed around with crypto before, so I sent a fraction of a coin, about $50. The page reloaded, and I was in. The layout was bare bones, threads with cryptic titles like fresh stock, bids open, and delivery confirmed. I clicked one and my stomach dropped. It was a kidnapping ring. Not some Hollywood bullshit, but real, raw, and fucking horrifying. The thread had photos, grainy, dimly lit shots of people tied up, gagged, some bloodied. Men, women, even kids. Each post listed details: age, weight, location, condition. Bids were in Bitcoin, and the numbers were sickening. $10,000 for a healthy male 30s, $25,000 for a female, early 20s, unbroken. The word unbroken hit me like a punch. I scrolled, my hands shaking, and saw a video link. Against every instinct, I clicked it. The video was shaky, probably shot on a cheap phone. A guy in a ski mask stood over a woman chained to a radiator in what looked like a basement. She was sobbing, her face swollen, one eye blackened. The guy held up a knife, grinning at the camera, and started carving into her arm while she screamed. Blood poured, pooling on the concrete floor. The video cut off after 30 seconds, but I could still hear her screams in my head. I puked in my trash can, right there at my desk. I should have closed the laptop, burned it, and walked away. But I didn't. I kept digging, telling myself I was just investigating. Truth is, I was hooked on the adrenaline, the horror, like some twisted true crime junkie. I started chatting in the forum's encrypted messenger, posing as a buyer to see how far it went. The guy I talked to, Reaper, was all business. He sent me a catalog, actual fucking people listed like cattle, with prices and availability. I asked about a specific item, a woman mid-20s from Chicago. Reaper replied, she's fresh. 30 BTC, delivered in 48 hours. Full payment up front. I didn't have that kind of money, and I wasn't gonna buy nobody, but I played along, saying I'd wire the cash. Reaper got pushy, demanding proof of funds. I ghosted him, thinking that was the end. It wasn't. 2 days later, I got an email, no sender, just a Tor link. It took me to a live feed. The woman from the catalog was there, naked, tied to a chair. A chat window popped up. You didn't pay, Jake. Now she pays. They knew my name. My real name. I froze, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. The feed showed a guy in a hood walk in, holding a power drill. He didn't say a word, just pressed it against her knee, and pulled the trigger. Her scream was inhuman, blood and bone fragments spraying as the bit tore through. The chat pinged. Next one's on you. The feed cut to black. I didn't sleep for days. I unplugged my router, ditched my phone, and moved to a shitty motel paying cash. But the emails kept coming, always from different encrypted addresses. They had my social security number, my mom's address, even photos of me at the gas station. I was in way over my head, and they knew it. One email had a new link, another live feed. This time, it was a kid, couldn't have been older than 10, locked in a cage. The message read, 50 BTC by midnight, or he's meat. I didn't have 50 Bitcoin. I didn't even have 5. I tried contacting the cops, but what was I gonna say? Hey, I was snooping on the dark web, and found a kidnapping ring. They'd lock me up for being a creep. I was trapped, and the clock was ticking. Desperate, I sold everything, my car, my TV, my grandpa's watch, and scraped together enough for half a Bitcoin. I sent it to the address they gave, begging for mercy. The reply was simple, not enough. The next feed was worse. The kid was still alive, but barely. They'd cut off 2 of his fingers, slow and deliberate, showing the camera every slice. Blood dripped onto the floor, mixing with his tears. I screamed at my screen, helpless, knowing I couldn't stop it. The feed ended with a message, "You're next." I ran, left the motel, hopped a bus to nowhere, and ended up in some podunk town in Indiana. I thought I'd escaped, but last week, I got another email. No text, just a photo of me sleeping in my new apartment, taken from above my bed. I don't know how they found me. I don't know what they want anymore. I've got no money, no fight left. All I know is they're watching, and every night, I hear footsteps outside my door. I'm telling this because I need someone to know. If I disappear, it ain't an accident. The dark web ain't just a place, it's a fucking abyss, and once you look in, it looks back. Don't make my mistake. Don't think you're smarter than them. They're everywhere, and they don't forgive. The screen glowed blue in the dim basement, casting shadows on the peeling wallpaper. My fingers trembled as I typed the Tor address from a crumpled note. The dark web loaded slow, a black void spitting out pixelated nightmares. I wasn't here for drugs or guns. I was chasing a ghost, a girl's face, pale and wide-eyed, in a grainy photo sent to my burner email. The message was blunt. $10,000. She's yours. Instructions follow. I'm no saint. I've bought weed off sketchy sites, but this was a pit I never thought I'd fall into. The photo haunted me. She couldn't have been older than 16, her lips cracked, a bruise blooming on her cheek. I told myself I'd find her, save her. But the truth? Part of me was just curious, like poking a dead animal with a stick. The site loaded. No name, just a string of numbers and a chat window. The seller, Reaper, was online. You got the cash? The message blinked. I wired the Bitcoin, my stomach churning. I wasn't rich. I'd drained my savings, pawned my mom's old jewelry. Reaper sent coordinates, a derelict warehouse outside Tulsa. Come alone. Bring the rest in cash. I drove through the night, the Oklahoma air thick with dust. The warehouse loomed, rusted and sagging, windows like empty sockets. My flashlight caught graffiti, needles crunching underfoot. A metal door creaked open, and a figure in a ski mask waved me in. Money, he growled. I handed over the envelope, my hands slick with sweat. He counted it, then tossed me a key. Basement. She's waiting. The stairs were concrete, slick with something I didn't want to name. The air stank of piss and rot. At the bottom, a steel cage sat under a flickering bulb. She was there, curled in a corner, her dress torn, blood crusted on her bare feet. Her eyes met mine, hollow like she'd already died inside. I fumbled with the key, my heart hammering. I'm getting you out, I whispered. She didn't move, didn't speak. Then I heard boots. 3 men masked, one with a machete. Reaper's voice was cold. You thought we'd just let you walk. They'd played me. The girl wasn't for sale, she was bait. I backed up, tripping over a pipe. The machete guy lunged, slicing my arm. Blood sprayed, hot and sticky. I screamed, scrambling for the stairs, but they were on me, fists and boots cracking ribs, splitting skin. I tasted copper, saw stars. They dragged me to a chair, zip-tied my wrists. Reaper leaned close, his breath sour. You're part of the deal now. The girl whimpered, and I realized she wasn't the product. We both were. They'd film it, sell the footage, torture, rape, worse. The dark web ate that shit up. A camera blinked red in the corner. I don't know how I got loose. Adrenaline, maybe. I grabbed a loose brick, smashed it into Reaper's skull. His mask split, blood gushing. The others froze, and I bolted, grabbing the girl's arm. She was limp, like a rag doll, but she stumbled after me. We hit the stairs, their shouts echoing. Outside, my car was still there. I floored it, tires screaming, her shallow breaths the only sound. We ditched the car in a ditch, hid in a motel. She wouldn't talk, just stared at the wall. I bandaged my arm, puked in the sink. The dark web was still out there, a monster I'd fed with my own money. I thought I'd save her, but all I did was buy a front row seat to hell. Her name, she finally whispered, was Lily. I don't know if she'll ever be okay. I don't know if I will. I shouldn't have clicked the link. It was buried in a dark web forum, a place I'd been lurking for weeks, chasing whispers of a map. They called it the Red Route, a digital sketch of human trafficking paths across the Midwest, marked with X's where bodies had been found. I thought it was urban legend shit, something bored hackers cooked up to scare newbies. But the file was real. Too real. Coordinates, dates, even grainy photos of shallow graves. I downloaded it, heart pounding, and swore I'd never go looking. But I did. The map had a pin less than 10 miles from my shitty Ohio trailer park. An X in a cornfield off Route 23, timestamped 6 months ago. I knew that spot, used to smoke weed there as a kid. The idea of bodies rotting that close made my skin crawl, but I couldn't shake it. Last Friday, I grabbed a flashlight, a hunting knife, and a fifth of Jack to dull the stupid. Told myself I was just checking, proving it was fake. The field was dead quiet, just crickets and the stink of damp earth. The coordinates led to a patch of churned dirt, hidden by stalks. I started digging, drunk and sloppy, expecting nothing but mud. Then my shovel hit something soft. A tarp, blue and crinkled, wrapped tight. My hands shook as I cut it open. The smell hit first, rotting meat and piss. Inside was a girl, maybe 16, her face half gone, eyes milky and wide. Duct tape clung to her jaw, and her wrists were zip-tied so tight the plastic bit into bone. Her stomach was carved open, guts spilling like wet rope. I gagged, puking whiskey into the dirt. Then I saw the second body. A boy younger curled beside her. His throat was slit, ear to ear, blood caked black. Needle marks dotted his arms, and his fingers were smashed, like someone took a hammer to them. I froze, hearing a twig snap behind me. My flashlight caught a glint, metal, maybe a gun, before I bolted, tripping through the corn, knife still in hand. I didn't stop till I hit my trailer, doors locked, curtains drawn. The dark web thread was gone by morning. Deleted, like it never existed. I kept the map, though, burned onto a USB I hide under my floorboards. I don't sleep anymore. Every creek outside feels like them, traffickers, cleaners, whoever buries kids in fields. I see her face when I close my eyes, the way her lips were chewed raw, like she fought till the end. I drive past Route 23 every day, and that X is still out there, unmarked, unclaimed. The map was accurate. The bodies were there. But I never expected it to be so close, not just to my home, but to the kind of evil that doesn't just pass through. It lives here, and I'm too fucking scared to dig again. The dark web's a fucking sewer, but I was drowning. Rent was overdue, my car was repoed, and my dead-end warehouse job paid shit. Scrolling Tor on a burner laptop, I found a site, sleek, red-black, like a digital slaughterhouse. Discrete contracts, $10,000 per job, no traces. I'd done shady stuff before, boosted cars, ran packages, so I bit. Emailed the admin hours later, an encrypted reply. Target in Philly. Half up front. Bitcoin hit my wallet. Too smooth. Met the contact in a piss-smelling bar in North Philly. Hooded, chain-smoking, he slid me a blurry photo, an address, and a Glock with the serial filed off. Make it ugly, he growled. They want a statement. My hands shook, but $10,000 was life-changing. I cased the guy for days, mid-30s, boring, just a dude. Watched him tuck his daughter into bed, her tiny hands hugging him. My chest tightened, but eviction notices don't wait. Night of, I popped the back lock. House was quiet, air thick with sleep. He was in bed, snoring softly. One shot to the temple, his skull cracked, brain matter sprayed the headboard like wet paint. Blood soaked the sheets, metallic and hot. I gagged while burning my throat, but the job wasn't done. Make it ugly, echoed. I pulled my knife, sliced his throat ear to ear. Flesh tore like raw steak, blood gurgling, pooling on the floor. Snapped a pic for proof, hands trembling. Sent it. Final payment cleared. Morning news gut punched me. Beloved teacher murdered. Teacher? The site swore he was a dealer, some scum running dope. I checked Tor. The site vanished, my contact a ghost. I'd been scammed, fed lies to butcher an innocent for some psycho's vendetta. That kid's face haunts me. Her dad's blood still stains my dreams. The cash is gone, spent on nothing. I'm the one rotting now. I've never shared this with anyone before. Not friends, not family. Hell, I don't even like thinking about it, but I haven't had a full night's sleep in 6 weeks. All I hear is that damn chanting, low, guttural, like it's crawling into my skull. It started after I got obsessed with lost media. You know, weird films that never made it to the public. Banned reels, disturbing cuts, stuff Hollywood buried. A buddy from Reddit told me about a Tor link, a marketplace deep in the dark web, where collectors trade things not meant to be seen. I paid $300 in Bitcoin. The file was called Mother's Call, 1973. No info, no description, just a video barely over 23 minutes. The download was instant. No watermark, no intro, it just started. It looked old, maybe filmed on 8mm, grainy. Bleached out colors. A woman's face filled the screen, bruised, hollow-eyed, skin pale like boiled fat. Her mouth moved, whispering something I couldn't make out, and then the screen cut to black. Then the chanting started. Not in English. Not anything I could place. It sounded wet, like it was being chanted underwater. What followed, it wasn't a movie. It was a ritual. Bodies, real bodies, laid out on a stone floor, carved open from chest to groin. Guts spread like red spaghetti. The camera panned slowly over them. Flies buzzed. You could hear them squirming inside the wounds. One body, a young girl, was still twitching. Her eyes darted back and forth, and a hand, off-screen, pet her hair while the chanting grew louder. I tried to pause. Wouldn't let me. Tried to close the window. Nothing worked. My screen just flickered and dragged me deeper in. At the 18-minute mark, it changed. The camera faced a wall made of what looked like human skulls, cemented together. The woman from the start stood there, naked now, smeared in blood, and chanting with the others. Then she looked straight at the camera. No, at me. That's when I heard it. She said my name. I swear to God. My full name. First, middle, last. I yanked the cord out of my PC. Didn't matter. When I turned it back on, the file was gone, but the sounds weren't. Every night since, I hear them. That same low chant, behind my ears like it's coming from inside my skull. My buddy who gave me the link, he hasn't answered in weeks. His Reddit account? Deleted. 3 days ago, I woke up to bloody handprints on my bathroom mirror. And this morning, I heard her again. Only this time, she didn't just say my name. She said, "You watched. Now you belong." And the chanting hasn't stopped. Would you like a thumbnail image concept for this story? I didn't think much of it when I found that old laptop tucked away in the corner of my closet. It had been years since I last touched it, and to be honest, I forgot about it. The screen was cracked, and it had that musty, forgotten smell. But I still remembered the password, the one I'd made back when I thought I could handle the world of the dark web. At first, I just wanted to see what was on there. I was never deep into it, but I remembered stumbling across things that seemed off, dangerous. I opened the laptop, and the screen flickered to life, slow and jerky, like it was struggling to remember itself. The browser popped up, and my old .onion link was right there in the bookmarks. It was a faded URL, one I never bothered to visit again, but something in me, something twisted in my gut, told me to click it. The page loaded, but it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't some silly forum or illegal product marketplace like I remembered. This was different. The page looked raw, grimy, like someone had made it in a basement with no lights. The background was black with red letters dripping across the screen, as if the text was smeared in blood. It gave me an uneasy feeling, but I brushed it off as just the usual dark web nonsense. That's when I saw the first image pop up. At first, I thought it was some weird art, but the more I looked, the more real it became. Flesh. Blood. The stench of death practically jumped out of the screen. I leaned closer, my stomach doing flips. The picture showed a person, no a thing, tied to a chair. Their skin was pulled so tight over their bones it looked like it was about to snap. Their eyes were wide, filled with terror. Their mouth. I don't even want to describe what happened to it. My hands started shaking. I wanted to close it, I really did, but I couldn't. Something was pulling me in like it was in my head now. Then the next link loaded. Live feed. The end of you was written in big, bold letters. I shouldn't have clicked, but I did. And that was the worst mistake I've ever made in my life. A live stream popped up, showing a dark room. The camera was shaky, but the thing in the center of it, God, I still can't forget it. There was this man bound, his body torn to shreds, but somehow still alive. Blood poured from him in a sickening flow. He was barely breathing, and there was a masked figure standing over him, holding some kind of blade. The man's chest was open, like they had sliced him wide open, and you could see his organs beating, still pulsing under the harsh light. I could hear him gasping for breath, begging. But the figure didn't care. The blade sliced down his arm, deep enough that it almost severed it completely. Blood splattered onto the screen, and I recoiled, my throat tightening. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. My eyes were glued to the screen, and somehow I could hear his screams, feel his pain. It was like I was right there. That's when the message flashed on the screen. "Do you want to join us?" I froze. My heart raced. I quickly closed the laptop, but it wouldn't shut off. The damn thing was stuck. I tried everything, Control plus Alt plus Delete, pulling the battery out, but nothing worked. The screen flickered and another message popped up. "It's too late. You saw it. Now you're ours." I felt something cold crawling up my spine. My breathing turned shallow, like I couldn't get enough air. I looked around the room. The walls seemed to close in. And then, right in front of me, the screen blinked again. A black and white photo of my own face appeared. It was taken just seconds ago. No one had been in the room with me. I snapped the laptop shut, but the fear, that gnawing fear, stayed with me. It's been days, and I can still hear the man's screams echoing in my head. Every time I try to sleep, I see his eyes wide with terror, staring back at me. I haven't turned the laptop on since. It's sitting in my closet, sealed up in a box now. But I know it's not gone. That thing from the dark web, it's still watching me. It's still in my head, whispering, reminding me that once you've seen it, once you've clicked, there's no way out.